Hello, and welcome back to Copilot Learning Hub. Today, we're going to talk about all things data. So many of you have asked, what is going on with the world of data and AI? And we know AI cannot exist without data. So we need to get our data in order. We need to make sure it's correct, clean, and ready to use. There's no one better to help us with this than my friend Josh, who's in Nairobi, who's going to introduce himself and tell us a little something about data and Copilots. Hey, Josh, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Josh. I'm a cloud developer advocate for the data team, and I'm excited today to share what we're doing with Copilot in the data space. How can you as a data professional leverage Copilot?
I love that. So when we say data professional, what exactly does that mean?
All right, so I'm going to share my screen here. And for today, because we have several Copilots across different products, so for today, we'll be focusing on Copilots on Microsoft Fabric.
Perfect. This is a very intriguing space for people. I know you recently all had a Fabric conference, and you debuted a lot of Copilot experiences. I'd love a sneak peek of what all you talked about there.
Right. Yeah, so Microsoft Fabric is an end-to-end data analytics platform that allows you to go from your data to the business user. So on Fabric, we have these different 7 experiences, from Data Factory that allows you to bring data into Microsoft Fabric, all the way to Data Activator that allows you to go from insights to action. Now, on Microsoft Fabric, we have different data teams. I mentioned it's a unified data platform. So that means even for the data professionals, they are able to work together on data projects. Now, some of the data teams that leverage Microsoft Fabric include data engineers. So you can think of data engineers being able to integrate data from different sources. They're able to transform this and then curate these data for use by the other personas. So in Microsoft Fabric, they'll start using tools like Data Factory, Data Warehouse, and even data engineering tools.
Okay, what I love about this is all of these different roles, they can all play together in the same sandbox of Microsoft Fabric. That is really, really awesome.
Exactly.
So, do you mind sharing a little bit about the data engineer role? I know that's a role that is extremely important because without that, all of the other roles don't really matter. But many people are not quite sure how to use the Fabric tools to do data engineering.
Yeah, so for the data engineer on Microsoft Fabric, they're able to connect to unstructured, structured, and even streaming data sources. You all have those capabilities built into Microsoft Fabric. They are also able to ingest data at scale with things like pipelines and data flows. And then they are also able to transform the data that they're ingesting using data flows and even procedures in notebooks.
Okay, that is awesome. Do you mind showing us a little bit of something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So for this particular episode, we'll jump into Microsoft Fabric and see how Copilot can help you as a data engineer in your daily workflow. Right. And here I'm in Microsoft Fabric. This is the Data Factory workload. So I'll be loading some data from a SQL database, perform some transformations, and I'm going to leverage the power of Copilot and then load that data into the Lakehouse.
Okay, so which job role would be using this specifically?
This would be a data engineer.
Okay, very cool.
Yes. Right. So I have a database I'm loading from the Wide World Importers database. I'm just going to select a few tables here, and then I'm going to go ahead and create the connection to the database. All right. Okay, so you can be able to see the tables that I've been able to pull from the SQL database, and I have some nice visualization here. I can be able to see the visualizations for these tables, and down here I can be able to actually see the data. Right?
Okay, perfect.
And yeah, and on top of this ribbon, you can be able to see we do have a Copilot button here. Right? Perfect. And I've just loaded the data. I think we can start by trying to see what can Copilot help us get started. Every time you start a workload, you're always hit with this wall of complexity. Where do I start? It's a blank canvas. So we can be able to see what Copilot can be able to help us do. So you can be able to see Copilot can be able to get data, add a step, describe the query. So I can select one of the queries, like the sales orders queries. And after selecting that, I can go ahead and ask Copilot to describe this query for me.
Oh, this is interesting. So Copilot's going to explain to you what exactly is happening here.
Exactly. and can be able to see Copilot goes ahead and gives an explanations of the sales orders query. It says that this query is connecting to the demo dataset server, and then it selects the order tables from the sales schema, and it goes ahead and gives you a good description for that. All right.
I love this, especially if you didn't build the query, right? It would be something like, what the heck does this query mean? And then you get Copilot to explain it to you versus having to call your colleague and trying to hunt down who did build it. That's great.
Yes, exactly. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get started here and ask Copilot to actually create a query for me that joins two tables. So I'm just going to give it a query there to join the sales orders table and the sales order lines table. All right, let's try that again. Right, so there we go. So Copilot joins these two tables, and you can see I didn't even specify which column it's going to join on top of. It's going to look at the two tables, identify the relationship, and then go ahead and do the join.
Josh, you know I love it when Copilot does our work for us. This is awesome. This is cool. I like this a lot because for those of us who may not be joining table experts, it's kind of helpful to have Copilot do this for us. Not to be lazy, but
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Okay, what else? What happens after this?
I can actually ask you to join the table it just created with another existing table. So I'm just going to ask you to join the query table it just created with the customers table. And this happens sometimes. This happens sometimes, and then there you go. It goes ahead and joins the query it generated with an already existing query. And now, what happens is sometimes you just don't want something Copilot created. So you have this undo button down here because it's a Copilot, not an autopilot, right. And you can always undo and revert. So like I can always clear a query that Copilot went ahead and generated for me.
I love that. That is really cool. Okay. Because you're not just creating new things, you're also building on top of what exists.
Exactly. So I'm going to rename this query that Copilot created for us. I'm going to rename it to order details. Okay.
Okay.
And then I'm going to add a new step because Copilot is helping me, but I'm also working on the same query that Copilot created. So I'm just going to go ahead and perform some transformation myself. Select a few more columns. I'm just going to select order ID, customer ID, select salesperson ID. I'll also select the order date. That's selected, and then quantity and order line ID, like that. Okay. All right, so I've selected a few columns for myself, and the next thing I'm going to do, I might not know how to write a filter, so I'm just going to ask Copilot to do the filter for me. So, just give me the orders where the quantity was actually greater than 1. So,
I like that.
Go ahead and prompt it. Exactly, and it continues building on top of the same query that we started with.
Right, because now you're asking Copilot, what does this data even say? Okay, cool. Yeah.
The other key power of Copilot is its ability to help you do automate some of the mundane tasks. Like, for example, you can see all these columns. I would love them to be a little bit readable, like the order ID have some spacing between the two words. So what if I can just do that in bulk by just asking Copilot to actually rename the columns for me into a more readable format instead of me having to do that manually. So I can go ahead and ask Copilot, rename the columns for me into a readable format with the space between each of the words.
Oh, I like that. Okay, so some of this work that you would have to do manually, Copilot can automate this, and it already has the context of which table you're at, which query, etc., which is great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And now we can begin doing some more complex stuff. Like we've done some filters. We can try doing some grouping. So we can try grouping this data now by the salesperson ID and the order date, and then get a count of the total number of orders. So I'm going to ask Copilot to do that for me. And there you go. Very fast. Does the join for me.
Okay, I love that. It's now actually doing things that would take you 30 minutes. It would take me a very long time to do this, but it would take you, a data professional, probably like 30 minutes to do this versus the 2 seconds this just took.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, when we get to a point like this, suppose I needed to find, maybe I can see we have a salesperson ID. We can see the total number of orders that were also made at that day, and also the date. What if we needed to identify whether a certain sale or a certain order was placed during a public holiday? Now, how would we even get started, and we don't even have the number of holidays between 2016 and 2013?
Oh.
Now, that's where the power of Copilot comes in, because I can go ahead and ask Copilot to give me a list of all holidays between these dates. Now, here we are tapping into the power of generative AI as well to generate an entire new data set that we actually don't have. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Copilot to create for me a new query called holidays that has a list of all US holidays from 2013 to 2016. And there you go. It goes ahead and gets me all the holidays. So now here we are tapping into the actual power of generative AI. And then from this part now, I can go ahead and join this new table that we've created, the holidays table. So I'm going to go ahead and rename this to holidays. And then join the holidays table to the order details table. And then we can see whether there were any orders made during holidays.
Okay, that is cool.
There you go.
This is very,
there you go.
Yeah.
There is exactly. So we can see no orders were made during holidays. So we've been able to tap into the power of generative AI. Apart from leveraging the data that we actually have, we're able to also we are also able to tap into the power of generative AI and generate data and use that to enrich the data that we already have.
What I like about this is me, a business user, would just be able to use this to give me insights about what's in these tables, what are in these workloads, without actually having to know how the tables were made, how they were joined, how the queries were created, et cetera, et cetera.
And so that's how within Data Factory, when you're working with ingesting data, this is how you can be able to leverage Copilot to work with you in the flow.
I love that.
So yeah, so once we're done, we can go ahead and publish these data into our lakehouse.
Mm-hmm.
And yep, so I'm going to go ahead and publish that.
That was so cool, Josh. It was so interesting for me to see how a data engineer uses Copilot to do the daily parts of the job.
Yes, Donna, in how Copilot actually empowers the whole data integration flow, making you work faster to bring your data into Microsoft Fabric.
Yeah, and the common scenario of this is not the data I created, this is not the queries I created, but somehow I have to understand it and make rhyme or reason out of it. Such a common use case, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so next time, I would love for you to join us again and teach us how to use one of our favorite products that is always a little bit mysterious to me, which is Power BI. Right? As business users, we often receive a Power BI and we're expected to do something out of it, but it's very hard to know what to do. So everyone, thank you so much, Josh, for joining us today. And to all of you, join us next time for Copilot Learning Hub. Hello, and welcome back to Copilot Learning Hub. Today, we have Josh with us explaining how to use Copilot in one of your favorite tools, Power BI. Hey, Josh, welcome back. Thank you.
Hi, Donna. I'm glad to be joining you today to show you how you can use Copilot as a data analyst to supercharge your way to creating beautiful reports with Power BI.
I love that. And especially as a business user who often gets handed Power BIs and expected to do something with it, I am extremely excited for today's session. So what have you got?
Right. So let me bring up my screen. So now that we've already landed this data, what if we just needed to create a report? We need to get started and start, building reports on top of this data. So a data analyst wants to start answering some business questions in regards to this data. Mm-hmm. So we need to empower them to start creating reports with ease, right? Yeah. So directly from here, you have this new report button that you can always click, and that's going to take you to Power BI. And from Power BI, we can now start building our report. But again, it's the blank canvas, and we might need a little bit help. We might need some help to get started.
Oh yeah, I hate
Think
that
of
black
these,
canvas
yeah,
in Power BI. It's very intimidating, right? Because you don't even
exactly,
know where to even start. Because what we're trying to do now is data storytelling, and a blank canvas. Yeah.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So once we're here in Power BI, we can get started by I'm trying to even understand the kind of data that we're working with. So I can begin by asking Copilot to summarize for me the model of the data that we're working with. So I'll go ahead and ask Copilot, please summarize the model of the data that we're working with. And that comes back with a response that, this data set is providing a comprehensive overview of a company sales, inventory, customer interactions. It can be used to track various aspects of the business, and goes ahead and gives you the relevant information for you to get started. Okay. Perfect. Now that we have an idea of the kind of data that we're working with, the kind of model that we're working with, I can ask Copilot as well. I still don't understand where do I get started. I can ask Copilot, suggest what kind of content can I be able to build using this data.
I like
Copilot to give me a little bit of a head start. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes back with a few. It comes with the sales performance analysis, and inventory management, customer behavior insights, and delivery efficiency tracking. So we can work with the inventory management overview. So I'm going to click the create button. And here Copilot is going to go and create an initial draft of a report in Power BI that I can be able to get started. This takes a couple of minutes.
I like this a lot because Power BI is a tool that almost everyone has to use at some point, right? Either you're creating our Power BI report or you're consuming information from a Power BI. I know how to consume information from a Power BI, but creating one from scratch is up there in terms of things that are intimidating to start because there are so many ways to tell these stories.
Exactly. And when you don't even understand the data that you're working with,
right,
even it becomes a bigger challenge. And Copilot helps you understand, like, this is the data you're working with, right, and this is what you can be able to do with it. And can be able to see just getting started. I wouldn't come up with these in 2 minutes as Copilot actually did. Right? Okay, we will see it comes up with a complete Power BI report with different items, and I can always, at any point, I can always be able to jump in. Like I can jump in and come here and make changes. So, like, for example, I can come and rename for this visual and say, total customers. So you're always the one in control.
Yeah, I like
you can always jump in and make changes as well. Now, we've gotten a fast overview, but suppose I needed to get an executive summary of what it is that we've actually created.
Exactly.
I can go ahead. Exactly. I can go ahead and ask Copilot, please give me an executive summary of whatever we have on the report. And Copilot is going to go and leverage the visuals on the report to create for you an executive summary as well.
I like that because people who are consuming this report, often, we just get sent a link like status of, right now, we're doing a lot of stuff for Build and Ignite. Yeah. And I get a lot of Power BI reports handed to me. And half the time it's, is this good news or bad news?
Exactly. And you can be able to see Copilot comes back and it gives you an executive summary. So this data refers to 2 key factors of transactions by customer name and transactions by stock item name. And the thing is, you have this little button right here that can help you narrow down to understand where is it getting this info from. So just imagine you have a report with so many visuals and you really want to understand, like, where is this information coming from? So you have these sort of references right here, and you can be able to navigate down to where Copilot is actually getting that information from.
I love that, because then you're able to say, people will be like, where did you get this info? You've got your source. Cite your sources, always in AI. I love that.
Exactly. And your sources are directly from the visuals on your Power BI report.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So you can actually take that also a step further. So I'm going to delete one of these visuals, and I'm going to replace that with a narrative. All right. So what a narrative allows you to do is now bring in that information directly into your report. So I can select the Copilot right here, and I can go ahead and as well generate an executive summary, or even get a suggestions of likely questions from leadership. And for this one, you can start with an executive summary and ask it to update. And now that is going to come directly into your report.
Okay, that's clever. I like that part where what questions might executives ask from this report, and then put the answers right there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's clever. I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. As that is running, let's head back and look at what we can do for data scientists and data engineers who live and breathe Python.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to switch back to this lake house of mine. I'm going to switch back to this lake house of mine. And directly from here, we have our tables. You always have this option to create a new notebook for you to start interacting with the data inside here.
Okay.
Okay. So that goes ahead and creates a new notebook for you. And then once this loads up, see what we got here? Copilot button.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. And so when you click that, it allows you to install the relevant packages for you to interact with Copilot inside the notebooks. And so once this has finished executing, you can now begin to interact with Copilot again. You can ask it to load data from your lakehouse. You can ask it to give you insights from your data. And anytime you're stuck and you need some insights from Copilot, it always gives you some ideas to get started with directly from the left pane.
I love this because you can actually do, it's actually like for devs, I would say a coding companion, but here it's a data companion to help you put together whatever you need to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, let's switch to one that I had already created and one that was already running. And we can see what we can do with Copilot here.
You know, so this is the first time I'm understanding the end-to-end of the, let's just call it Copilot and Fabric family of things, right? Because to those of us who are not data professionals, these can sound extremely confusing, like Copilot in Data Factory, Copilot in Power BI, Copilot in this, Copilot in that. But each one is specifically for a job role to do a specific task. But you're showing us how they would work together and how you would have this interoperability of the data between Copilot in this and Copilot in that to solve very specific business problems. So this is very cool.
Exactly. All right. Needs to let's run a few more seconds for it to get started. So you need to install the required packages for you to leverage Copilot within the notebook, and that's what happened. That's exactly what is happening here. So you don't need to know which packages to install. The moment you hit the Copilot button, it's going to tell you, hey, you need these packages, and then you just need to run. You just need to execute the cell, and it's going to install everything.
Okay, that's cool. I like that because you're not trying to go look through this repository and find exactly the right packages. You're just saying, here's what I'm trying to do, and it'll find you the right packages. Exactly. Yeah, that's cool.
Exactly. Okay. It's a few minutes, and it's done. Think so?
Perfect.
Yes, it's done. So it can tell you everything, like the usage, the commands to use. Right. So we're here, and I can start by asking Copilot, please. I've loaded this data from my lakehouse. I've loaded the sales orders table, and I've also loaded the sales customers table. So I'm asking Copilot, can you do the join for me?
Oh.
Can you do the joins? That's the DF customers. So we click that, and then and then run that. So what happens is Copilot always has the context for your data frames. So we have data frames that we've defined in our code, but it also always have it also has it also has context to the tables that are also in your lakehouse.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to attempt this again and see whether we are lucky. Okay. Oh, yeah, it actually generated the code. I'm the one who didn't see it here. But here is the code. It generates the code for us, the joined data frame, where it goes ahead and joins the customers, the DF orders, the orders data frame, and the customer's data frame. So I have this little button here that can go ahead and insert the code directly. There you go. And it goes ahead and executes. That. And we can be able to see the joined data frames. I can always jump in and continue writing code.
I love that. That is very cool. So you're able to use it to solve very specific problems. You have to know the problem you're trying to solve. And this is where I really want everyone to understand this, where this is not a tool for people who do not know what they're doing at all. This is a very good tool for people like Josh, who actually are experts, who know what the right answer looks like. But this is a very good shortcut to get there quicker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just want to work from the notebook. You can always close this pane of Copilot and work directly from the notebooks and just use, we call them the chart magics, and just type chart and go ahead and I can ask Copilot, suggest visualizations for the joined DF. So I can also interact with Copilot directly in line without needing to open the Copilot pane right here. And you have other options. You can use the chart, the percentage chart. That's going to give you output. Just see, goes ahead and suggest. And you can also use the percentage code, which goes ahead and generates code for you. And I can say maybe I can just copy the first one and go ahead and execute that.
That is very cool.
And there it goes and it generates for you the code that you need.
I love that.
Yeah. And then you can always jump in, fix the code, because AI can make mistakes. You have to review the code, fix the code, and then continue.
I love it. Where you can use AI to generate the code, or you can use AI to help fix the code.
All right, exactly. So that's the capability of the different Copilot experiences within Microsoft Fabric, from data integration, using Data Factory, with data engineering and data science with the notebooks, and even creating Power BI reports with the Copilot inside of Power BI.
Josh, it is so cool. Okay, I am biased personally toward this one because how often do we get Power BIs, especially on our team, handed to us and we have to make some sort of decisions based on it? And being able to just basically ask, like, give me a table of contents for this report or give me an executive summary, that is a game changer. I think that is amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes it very fast for you to actually understand. When someone gives you a Power BI access to a Power BI report, you can actually just click on it and start asking questions based on the content that is on the Power BI report.
Okay, we're going to drag you back here at some point to explain more things in Copilot and Fabric. But till then, thank you so much for being here, Josh, and thank you all for joining us for Copilot Learning Hub. See you next time. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Copilot Learning Hub. Today, we've got an awesome guest who's going to help us solve a major problem that you all have been asking about, and honestly, I've been asking about, which is, what exactly is Copilot for Finance? And what does it have to do with Excel? How many people in the world use Excel? 1 out of 8 people in the world use Excel, right? It's one of the most powerful tools on the planet. And with the power of AI and Copilot, intermingled with it, how can Excel be even more powerful? So I'm not going to answer these questions because I do not know. So we've called our friend Steve Huang to come and explain. Hi, Steve. Welcome.
Hi, Donna. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and where you work?
Yes, my name is Steve Huang, located in Canada, Toronto. I'm an Excel instructor, have been teaching Excel for the past 15 years.
That is awesome. I am so happy to hear that. So what I would love for you to teach us today is this really interesting scenario you have around Copilot for Finance as it relates with Excel. Can you tell us a little bit about the scenario?
Yeah, so for many people working in finance and accounting, they have to perform the reconciliation, which usually take hours or even days, depending on how many records they have. So that's a very tedious process to go through. Now, with the Copilot for Finance, with the reconciliation feature that can help us to get that done in just a few minutes, rather than spending hours or even days to go through that.
Now, there is finance math that everyone can understand, which is, do you want something that takes hours every single time, or do you want something that can be done in minutes? I love minutes and not hours.
Exactly.
So I hear you've got a very, very slick little demo to show us. Do you want to start?
Yes, sure, yeah. So here in this Excel file, we have 3 worksheets. We have the trip budget, bank statement, and range.
Perfect.
What we're trying to do is to reconcile data between the trip budget and the bank statement.
Okay.
In the trip budget worksheet, we have the date, we have the category, we have the amount. Then we want to compare that to the actual, which is the bank statement. We also have the date. We know the different categories have so much amount. We want to see if they are the same or if they're different, how much they are different. So that can be done by using Copilot for Finance, the reconciliation feature. Now, before we do anything, we have to first make sure the data we're trying to reconcile have to be within a table, because Copilot for Finance will only work with data in a table.
Okay.
So now if I need my cursor in this range, I go to the ribbon, I can see Table Design tab. And that means this is a table. The table name is Bank Statement. Now, if I go to the trip budget worksheet, leave my cursor in the range, again, go to the table, I can see Table Design tab. That means this is a table, and the table name is trip budget. So they have to be in a table for us to use the Copilot for Finance. If we go to the third worksheet, here, this is a regular range. It's not a table. Then we cannot use the Copilot for Finance for the reconciliation. But it's very easy and simple to make that into a table. So I will need my cursor in this range over here. I go to the Insert tab. I click on Table. And this range from A1 to F44 is the right range. Okay. And my first row has a header. So my table has header is checked. That's fine. So click OK. With that, this becomes a table. So in case you want to use a range that's not a table, you can make them into a table. Then you can use the Copilot for Finance. So now I'm going to proceed with reconciling data between trip budget and bank statement.
Okay, so that part, everyone, I hope you're paying attention, because if your data is not in a table, put it into a table. Select the area, make a table. It's just like doing filtering and sorting, right? You know, you can't filter and sort in Excel until it's in a table so you can see what's going on. It's the exact same thing. I've fallen into this trap and I'm like, I'm not co-piloting this data. Why not? It's not in a table. Okay, so step 1 is that. Second step.
So now I'm going to use the Copilot for Finance to perform the reconciliation. So I go to Home tab. On the right side, I see Copilot for Finance. So I have installed it already. But at the end of the demo, I will show you how you can install that too. So I click on Copilot for Finance, which is now on the preview. And it pops up on the right side in the pane. I will click on Reconcile Data. And now I have to go through a few steps. So in the first step, I have to select 2 worksheets and table to reconcile. We are trying to compare that trip budget worksheet with the bank statement worksheet. So here for worksheet 1, I'm going to choose from that drop-down to choose trip budget. And within that worksheet, we may have potentially multiple tables. So I have to choose the right table. And in this case, we'll have only one table, which is trip budget. So that's what I'm going to use. Now, the second worksheet, I'm going to choose from drop-down which will be the bank statement. Again, in that worksheet, we may have multiple tables, and in this case, we have only one, which will be this bank statement. So now those are the two tables we want to compare to reconcile. Then I will click on next.
Okay.
Now, in the second step, we need to select at least two columns, one of each type for each table. We'll have the two tables over here, and then I need to add column. Now, the two types of column are mapping key and monetary column. Mapping key is for us to find matching records. With our data over here, the mapping key will be the date and category, and the monetary column will be the amount. So now I will click on mapping key, and from trip budget, the mapping key I want to choose from that drop down will be date. And from the bank statement, the corresponding column will be transaction date. So that's the first set. And then when you add another one, so add a column, again, mapping key. And the second one now, that's for the B. From the trip budget, that will be expenditure category. And then from bank statement, the corresponding column for that will be transaction category. So now we have the mapping key in place. Then I need to add a column again to choose a monetary column. So that will be the C this time. From the trip budget, that will be budget amount. And from the bank statement, that will be amount. So now we have all the three columns selected. Then I will click on next. So with that, within 3 seconds, Copilot for Finance has almost now complete the reconciliation report. So from column A, B, C, we have all the records from trip budget. From column E, F, G, we have all the records from the bank statement. And then from column I, we have the column to show the difference between trip budget and bank statement. Now, we have 3 groups of transactions. We have unmatched transactions, we have 20 of those, and potentially matched transactions with 4 of those, and matched transactions, we have 13 of that. And for now, matched ones are being collapsed. I can use this plus button to expand to see the detail. We can also collapse all those groups by using this 1. Now we're seeing only the high level. And we can click on the 2 to expand to see all the details. So now let's review those individual records. So from the very bottom, for the match transactions, so from trip budget, we have February 19 for flights, we have $700. And from the bank statement, February 19 flights, we'll also have $700. And the difference is 0. So those are matching perfectly fine. And all the rest of the other 12, they're also matching fine with difference being 0. That's good. Now, for the second group are those potentially matched transactions. We have 4 of those. So from trip budget on February 19 for the food category, we have $120 being budgeted. From the bank statement on February 19 for the food category, we'll also have $120. So the difference is 0. And also for the other 3, they're matching perfectly fine too. The difference is all 0. Now you may wonder, how come those 4 are categorized as potentially matched transactions, while the other 13 here, they are matched transactions because they're all matching perfectly fine with difference being 0. So there is a difference. The difference is this. For those matched transactions between 2 tables, they are 1-to-1 matching. For the potentially matched transactions, those are not 1-to-1 matching. So let me show you the detail. So for the matched transactions on February 19 flights, if I go to the trip budget, February 19 for the flights, we have 700 records. So this is one single record from trip budget. And now if I go to bank statement, on February 19, or flights category will also have $700. So between the two tables, it's one single record match another single record. And that's why they are under the match transactions. It's a one-to-one matching. But for the potential match transactions, those are not one-to-one matching. Those could be one-to-many or many-to-one, or they could be many-to-many matching. So let me show you what I mean by that. So from trip budget, February 19 for the food category will have $120. So in the trip budget for the food, we have $120. And this is one single record. Now in the bank statement, if I look for the food on February 19, you see here we have two records. One record for breakfast, one record for the dinner, but they're both for the food category, and the total amount is $120. But between the two tables, they are matching not as a one-to-one, it's a one-to-many. So that one record matches two records. The total amount are the same. So that's why those four over here, they are potentially match transactions because they are one-to-many, or could be many-to-one, or they could be many-to-many matching. Now, the very top group for those unmatched, so from trip budget on February 19, entertainment will have $160. And from the bank statement on February 19, entertainment will have only $30. We'll have a difference of $130. So they're not matching. Now, if you look at the second record, February 19, miscellaneous will have $10 being budgeted. But from the bank statement, February 19, miscellaneous will have spent $140. We'll have a negative $130 difference. So actually, if you look at the two can offset. If you think about this entertainment and miscellaneous under maybe a higher category, so the two together, they could still match. So when we go through those unmatched transactions, we might be able to find more can match. So that's how we use Copilot for Finance to perform reconciliation. But now one thing we need to know is when we use Copilot for Finance to do reconciliation, the data we are using, they shall not exceed 10,000 rows or 30 columns. That's the limitation. So we have now the report. We can actually produce a sum report. But here I'm using a Copilot for Finance on the preview, so it's not generating that report. But I can copy this entire report and use a Copilot in the browser to generate this summary. So let me go to my Copilot. Let me first type my prompt. Please write a detailed summary report based on the reconciliation report I attached.
This is cool.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I can go back to my Excel to copy my entire reconciliation report. So I will select the entire range of this report, and I'm going to copy that simply with Control-C, then go back to my Copilot. And then I will paste into my prompt bar.
I didn't know you could do this. I had no idea you could do this.
Yeah. We can simply copy and paste. Now, when paste over here, it actually pastes two things. One is a picture of that range. Another will be those content, the number and text, which I don't need. I just need to have a picture. So I can select the content portion, and I will delete that, only keep the picture, and then I will submit. So now Copilot is analyzing this picture, and it's going to write that summary report for us. And this may take a few seconds.
Yeah. But Steve, this is so cool because you called Copilot for Finance right from Excel. You did this really complicated thing, which I don't even know how we would do it manually. It would take a very long time, and keeping track of, that's too many tables to keep track of, just too many variables. And now you're able to get a what does this mean report from this that you can just send to stakeholders, executives, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. So with this summary, it gave us overview and talked about the two different worksheets, the discrepancies and recommendations, and final conclusion.
I had
so now let me come
idea.
back to the Excel.
Yeah.
So I want to mention that anyone can use this, and it's very simple to do. And for now, the Copilot for Finance on the preview is free. So it's simple to add that in. You just go to the Home tab. On the right side, you will see Add-ins. You click on Add-ins.
Oh.
So since I have this installed already, so that shows up as my add-in, but you can search for Copilot for Finance, then that show up over here. You simply click on Add, then in 1 second, that'll be add-in. So I used to help many of my clients to do some reconciliation through a template. So they used to take many hours to do that.
Yes.
But now with this tool, this can dramatically reduce the time for them to process that reconciliation.
I love this. This is so cool because how many times have we had to deal with complicated budgets with here's the budget, here's the expenses, here's the other random thing, trying to make any sense of it, like reason over this. And yeah, I love this. This is really good.
I also want to mention, even though this is under the Copilot for Finance, but actually the reconciliation is happening in every single industry, every profession.
Yeah.
Like for people working in supply chain, they issue purchase order and they receive the goods from suppliers. So they need to reconcile how much they ordered, how much they received. We can also use this tool to get that done.
I love it because, I mean, everybody in the world needs to deal with the budget in some way, shape, or form, right? Whether you're running your household, a small business, a large business, a department, et cetera, nonprofit project. But this is such an amazing tool. Oh my gosh, Steve, thank you so much for sharing this with us. And everyone, Copilot for Finance is now available as an add-in in M365 Copilot Excel. So go ahead and try it, okay? All right, everyone, seriously, go and try it for your budget things.
Yeah.
All right, Steve, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. See you next time, Copilot Learning Hub.